What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to hop into a topic I feel like I don't go over enough. I'm always talking about invest, invest, invest. Little by little, over time, you'll get to where you want to be. Invest, invest, invest. And I fail to explain what exactly to invest in, right? So today, do a little quick presentation of what exactly I mean by that. We'll go ahead and get started. Get this out of the way. So, one of the very first things, safest investments you could do is going to be a broad market ETF slash index fund. And what that means is you're pretty much investing in the top 500 companies in the stock market that gives you diversification and the steady long-term growth. Typically, it's about 10% every single year. But when you put your money into, for example, a couple tickers, SPY and VTI, those are you're investing in 500 companies all just by paying one price, if that makes sense. So you put your money in, and then it's divided by different percentages based off of how much you invest, right? So you put in 500 bucks, you're ultimately investing like, $2 into McDonald's, $3 into Home Depot, or like sort of like that, but it's like a broad based or a huge pool of companies, you could say. So, anyways, this is probably one of the safest. This is how I started investing, but there's different ways we'll get into on how exactly you can, put your money into it and then how exactly it'll grow over time. So, the next one is actually stocks. So, this is made up of two types of three actually, but in this slide, just two. So, you have growth stocks where you get into Teslas, the SoFis, the Palantirs, and those are pretty much where you'll invest for the long term, where you will see the volatility in the stock drop, go up and down really, really fast. So growth stocks are one of those like riskier type of investing. Those are the stocks that you'll see them drop like 10% and then go up 10% and then drop 10%. So those you really have to be able to you have to focus on the mission there. You have to know that there's days where you'll lose money quick and there's days where you'll make money quick, right? But at the end of the day, the whole goal is the long-term part of investing, right? So this is another type of asset that you can get into in the stock market as a way of investing. The other type of stock is going to be a value stock. So that is going to be broken down into an Amazon, for example, United Health, UNH, or Google, right? So these are companies that are really already well developed, right? They're just cash flowing machines, right? That no matter what, they're making money. They're there, right? We use Google every single day of our lives. Health insurance, right? It's all over the place. And Amazon, everybody shops from Amazon. So this is kind of just a way of breaking down exactly what to invest in. How comfortable do you feel putting money, risking money on investments like that? So, example, Palantir was one of those companies that exploded in the last year or two, right? It's why it's a growth stock, right? That's going to come with a lot more risk. If you look at something like United Health, although yes, it can drop, because of whatever, somebody pulls somebody comes out with a newsletter on news or anything like that, like same thing, Google, Amazon, like these companies are still very volatile, but you at least know what you're buying at the end of the day. You know that they're making money, you know that they're growing 5, 10% a year. So there's different ways you can invest in the stock market. So, anyways, those are the three so far. The other one is going to be dividend stocks. So this to me is the true meaning of what cash flow is. And what it is, it's paying stocks. These stocks that you buy into will pay you every month or every quarter or every 6 months, however they do their dividend, how exactly they pay their shareholders. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're just putting money into these companies that then pay you money for being a shareholder. A few examples of that is going to be Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Home Depot. These are companies you see everywhere, right? You're driving around, you see a Home Depot. Everybody drinks Coca-Cola, everybody drinks Pepsi, right? So ultimately what it is, it's very passive income when it comes to this. And of course, the more money you put into these stocks, the more money is going to pay you out, right? and it's based off of how many shares you have. So I'll give you an example. Some stocks, and don't quote me, but some stocks will be like, if you buy one share, it gives you like $2, right? The share might be like 300 bucks, but for every share, it gives you a certain amount of money. It's called a dividend yield, where I can kind of go more in depth into that in another video. So those are the four ways of investing that personally I've been through. I didn't include any like bonds and things like that in this video just because I'm a younger guy. I like to get more risk on. I like to, invest for the long term. This is what has worked for me. And those are pretty much the four. So just a quick recap. I'll see if I can. ETFs, that's the safest investment you can do, 10% a year. The market drops, the market goes up. Buy whenever you can, just stack away, stack away, stack away. It's better to put it into something like this than a savings account. That's not going to do you anything, right? So this is more like a safe type of investment. We jump over to stocks, single stocks. This is very risky, right? Growth stocks, value stocks, no matter what, those move a lot more aggressively up and down. But if you're able to stomach the red, if you're able to stomach the drops and just continue buying, which is pretty much what I do. If you guys follow me on Invest on, that's what I talk about. It's just stack, invest, long term, you will get rewarded if it is a strong and growing company. You always want to focus on that too. Because a lot of times I've seen like you don't want to buy like a Snapchat, for example. The Snapchat, like that company is rough, right? The numbers, the margins, it's just not a healthy company. You want to look for companies that are growing. You want to look for companies either are growing very fast or companies that provide value. And by value, I mean are making money no matter how the economy is looking. So, and the fourth one, dividend stocks. The very last slide. This is going to be the most important thing you can invest in, right? Again, I always talk about invest, 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 stack your chips, do this, do that. But I never really got into exactly what I'm talking about by that. And that's kind of my goal with this video. The very last one, the most important thing you can invest in yourself, right? If you do not learn a skill, get a license, go to school, learn a trade, anything that's going to make you money, how do you have money to invest in, right? That is the goal, right? Become a doctor, become a nurse, become a plumber, get into a trade, get a master's, get an MBA, learn a skill, like anything you can do, invest in yourself, read books, tighten up your brain, right? Get smarter, get better, grow personal development, right? This channel is kind of made up of that exactly. But this is the number one, I save the best for last. This is the number one thing to invest in is yourself. That's blocking time from social media. That's reading books. That's, learning a new language. Like anything you can think of, any of the above to make yourself a better person, this is the best thing you can invest in, right? Again, if you learn a skill and you increase the amount of income you make, that just means you're able to invest much more, which means that 10% that we were talking about earlier, $100,000, 10% of $100,000 is 10 grand. 10% of 1 million is $100,000, right? So if you increase your account, let's say one day you get it to $1 million, every single year, on average, the market will return 10% a year when you're invested in a total stock market or an S&P 500. So by increasing your income, investing in yourself, you make more money, which means you can invest more, which means your account will grow faster. So, in my opinion, something that I have personally focused on, these four things plus yourself, I have really focused on that. I've grew the amount of my income, right? I've been able to keep my expenses low, invest as much as I can, and it's been extremely rewarding. So, anyways, hope this video helps anybody who is interested in investing in stocks, investing in growth, investing in yourself. But hopefully this video helps. You guys have a great day.